The air in the village had always carried a certain heaviness, the kind that comes with history and memory. For Amina, that weight was both familiar and comforting. She had grown up with the land, learned to understand its rhythms, its secrets. She had devoted herself to it, tending to the sick, helping the elders, and ensuring the well-being of the village. But when Kwame returned, the air around her seemed to shift. His presence, so familiar and yet so distant, unsettled her in ways she had never expected. The first evening they spent together was a quiet one. After their impromptu reunion, Kwame had insisted they take a walk beneath the stars, a tradition they had shared during their childhood. Amina had hesitated, unsure of what to expect. There was so much unspoken between them, so many years and experiences that had shaped them. Yet, the moment they walked side by side, it was as if time had rewound itself. They moved along the familiar paths of the village, the dirt roads, the sound of the cicadas, and the distant howls of the night creatures filling the air. It felt like everything was the same and yet completely different. "Amina," Kwame said quietly, breaking the silence between them, his voice warm in the cool night air. "Do you ever think about those days? About how we used to run through the fields together?" She smiled, the memories flooding her mind, those carefree days spent in the sun, their laughter echoing across the savannah. "All the time," she said softly. "It feels like a lifetime ago. But when I close my eyes, I can still feel it. Like we're there again, in that space where nothing else mattered but being together." Kwame slowed his pace, his hand brushing against hers. She could feel the heat of his touch through the fabric of her dress. Her heart fluttered, but she didn't pull away. Instead, she let her fingers linger near his, just barely touching. It was as if they were both afraid to reach for what had once been so natural, unsure if they could rekindle the spark that had once been so fierce. But Kwame wasn't afraid. He had never been afraid to love her. And as he gently intertwined their fingers, the touch was like a silent confession of all the feelings they had buried for so long. "I never stopped loving you, Amina," he said, his voice filled with both longing and conviction. "Not once. And even when I was away, when I thought about the future, I couldn't imagine it without you in it. I tried, but it never felt right." Amina's breath caught in her throat, her pulse quickening at his words. She had always known deep down that she had never truly let go of him. But hearing him say it, hearing him speak those words aloud, shattered the wall she had carefully built around her heart. "I tried to move on," she whispered, her voice tight with emotion. "I tried to forget, to bury the memories of us. I thought I was being strong, doing what was best for me. But every time I did, I felt like I was losing a part of myself." Kwame stopped walking, turning to face her, his expression soft but determined. He lifted his hand to her cheek, his fingers brushing away the tears that had begun to spill down her face. Amina hadn't even realized she was crying until now. She had spent so much time convincing herself that love was a distraction, that she was better off without it. But here, in Kwame's presence, in the warmth of his touch, the truth was undeniable. "Amina," he said softly, his voice low with tenderness, "you don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have to carry everything by yourself. I'm here now. I'm here for you. I've always been here." She closed her eyes, leaning into his touch, allowing herself to finally feel everything she had been suppressing for years. Her body trembled with the force of emotions she had denied, but with him, she could let go. He had always known her in a way no one else did. He saw the parts of her that she kept hidden, the parts that needed love, tenderness, and care. "I'm scared, Kwame," she admitted, her voice barely audible. "I'm scared that this will only lead to more hurt. I've given so much of myself to this village, to the people. How can I have both? The love I crave and the duty I owe." Kwame's hand slid to the back of her neck, pulling her closer, his forehead resting against hers. "You don't have to choose, Amina. You're not alone in this. We can build something together. We can take care of each other, of the village, and still find time for the love we deserve." The sincerity in his voice, the certainty that filled his words, made her heart swell with hope. He was right. She had been so afraid of losing herself in love, but perhaps in him, she would find a way to become more of herself, not less. Their lips met then, a kiss that was slow and deliberate, filled with all the unspoken words and promises they had shared over the years. It wasn't just a kiss of passion, it was a kiss of understanding, of forgiveness, of reclaiming something that had always belonged to them. And in that kiss, Amina realized that love didn't have to be a choice between duty and desire. It could be both, intertwined, complementing the life she had always wanted to build. As the kiss deepened, Amina's hands found their way to his chest, pressing against the steady beat of his heart. She could feel the love he had never stopped offering her, the same love that had always been a part of her. And for the first time in years, she allowed herself to fully surrender to it. They broke apart reluctantly, their faces close, breaths mingling in the quiet of the night. Kwame rested his forehead against hers, his hand gently tracing the curve of her jaw. "We've waited long enough, Amina," he said, his voice hoarse with emotion. "I want you, all of you. Not just the woman who cares for everyone else. I want the woman I used to know, the one who laughed with me, who shared dreams with me. The woman who I never stopped loving." Amina's heart swelled as she gazed up at him, her eyes filled with tears that she no longer cared to hide. "And I want you, Kwame. All of you. The man you've become. The one who will stand by me and help me carry the weight of everything that matters." He kissed her again, this time with more urgency, as though trying to make up for all the lost time. The passion between them was undeniable, but it was more than just physical desire. It was the merging of two souls that had once been inseparable and were now finding their way back to each other. The next few weeks passed in a blur of shared moments. They worked together, side by side, to rebuild the village's farming practices. Kwame's knowledge from the city and Amina's deep understanding of the land formed the perfect combination. They spent long days in the fields, talking about their hopes, their fears, and their dreams for the future. Their bond deepened, not just because of their love for each other, but because of the shared purpose they had found. As the seasons changed and the crops flourished, so did their love. The savannah, with all its beauty and harshness, seemed to echo the strength of their connection. Every touch, every shared laugh, every moment spent together felt like a step toward the future they had both yearned for. And as they stood hand in hand beneath the baobab tree one evening, watching the sunset cast its golden light over the village, Amina knew that they had found something rare, something that transcended time and distance. They had found each other again, and this time, they would never let go.